Hello, everybody. It is Thursday, December 12th. I didn't realize we're 12/12 today. So it is MS National Office Hours. I'm one of your hosts. My name's Heather Cox.
And I'm Andrea Sangrio. We're super excited to have you all with us today. We've got Craig Hogan, the extraordinaire, to talk to us about Copilot agents and Copilot Studio and all the things more Copilot. All yours, Craig.
Perfect. Thank you. Glad to be back. Always a fun crowd to join. So what I was going to do is I have a few slides, although truth be told, I've got like 7 slides. I've got 4 slides open or 4 decks open of what I can walk through. So I will share a few things to set the stage, and then we'll just get in and start kind of playing a little bit. So I do want to start, let's see. Present in Teams. And so I just kind of want to re-ground everybody in our agent journey. And so I reference Power Platform because what we'll talk about a little bit here kind of gets into what is an agent, what is a common point. So Ignite with a couple weeks ago, we start making announcements. We, as your team that works with you, we learn just like you do. So we're getting information, we're getting links that people are saying, hey, tell me more about this. So we need to find it as well. But I found this slide, which I think is really kind of a good way to start thinking about M365 Copilot as being the UI for AI. And I did not make that up, but I really like it. So my user interface to start leveraging AI across the platform set that we have. So I'm kind of doing that. I want to ground, what am I grounding my data? What are my options to do that? I came on maybe 6 months ago, however many months ago it was, and talked about Copilot Studio as our low-code generative AI platform to start building this agent, or at the time, what we called was chatbot experience. We're now morphing everything to agents because we just like to change names. And now we've got this agent capability. And so part of the announcements from Ignite was agent within SharePoint. I also have agent capability with my M365 Copilot license. So what does all that mean? I'm going to try and unpack some of that today and kind of walk through. But when we think about UI for AI, if we look at it from this perspective where I'm the user, I'm using Copilot as my UI for AI, and I'm using Copilot Studio as my orchestration tool. So Copilot Studio is my orchestration tool to kind of organize and manage all of the different engagements that we can have, and how's that going to work. And then Copilot Studio can call on or lean on agents that can drive and create a different capabilities. And we have everything from retrieval agents all the way up to proactive and reactive agents that can be doing things for us. So just from that perspective, kind of framing how all of that works is really what we're kind of been talking about or thinking about. So what I'm going to talk about, the lion's share is today, is around our M365 Copilot. So I wish it was too. So now there's some announcements, March, just so you know that are coming. So within my M365 Copilot, I do have Copilot Studio capabilities. I can create an agent with my M365 Copilot license. But when we think about M365 Copilot, think personal productivity. How do I, as an individual contributor, become more efficient? Be it Office, summarize my emails. I was at the Eras tour and I need to catch up on what I did, and I have not reacted well to the flight change, the time change. So I really need some help prioritizing what I should work on. That type of capability. I can also create an agent that I can make for myself personally. I want to point it at a policy document, or I want to get a set of documents that I want to leverage, and I want to start interacting and get that information. I can do that within my M365 Copilot license, and I can manage that. However, it's for my personal consumption only. So as long as I'm creating something for myself, I'm okay. That Copilot Studio capability, all of that functionality. As soon as I now want to start to extend, I want to have different data sources. I want to extend and maybe build some actions that kind of leverage that. I maybe want to share it with folks that don't have an M365 Copilot license. Now we're getting into Copilot Studio. And how do I extend that? And how does that work? And of course, that's a different licensing. Frankly, it's a much more attractive licensing vehicle that we can leverage. And that's our low code capability. And then this case over here is the Azure AI Studio, which is now I want to extend it beyond. So Copilot Studio is doing a lot of good things for me, but it's not there, and I want to extend and leverage capabilities. I can leverage Azure to do that. And the reason I can do that is because Copilot Studio is this wrapper that sits on top of all of our Azure services. So within this orchestration engine of Copilot Studio, I can extend my M365 Copilot. I can leverage existing Copilots that exist, first-party Copilots, and then I can start to build my own Copilots. So Copilot Studio sits on top of all this. I don't need to know how to leverage Azure services or do those things. I'm just using this orchestration wrapper, this low-code platform to be able to do. And I have Copilot Studio up. We can go to that at the end to kind of to walk through any examples, because it's really changed from the last time I demoed. So just setting the stage, kind of that's the hierarchy. So really just think individual consumption, personal productivity is my M365 Copilot. But of course, we're Microsoft, so we like to have caveats, which I'll get to. And then as I want to start extending, I've got Copilot Studio. And then as I want to be able to enhance and leverage the full power of Azure AI, I can now start to incorporate that into Studio as well. So that's kind of the three columns, I would say, or pillar, whatever you want to call it, those components. So now I'm going to stop sharing, and now I'm going to do a little demoing and just kind of see. So this is one of the many slides I had. So here I am. I'm in a SharePoint site. If you have an M365 Copilot license, you'll have this little Copilot icon up here on the right. So I'm in my document library within SharePoint. I can come up here.
We can't see your screen.
Sorry. Better?
Yes, we can see it.
Yes, it is.
Okay, good. Sorry. Okay, so I'm now in my SharePoint directory. I have an M365 Copilot license. And so now I have this little Copilot icon up here. So I can click on this icon. I'm building a SharePoint agent. No heavy lifting. I'm just clicking on this icon, and now I've got some prompts. So I can just click Summarize Files. I'm now using Copilot. All I've done is I've said, here's the directory. This is part of my M365 Copilot license. I'm just leveraging what's available to me. Point and click. So now it's summarizing this for me. It's getting into these documents. I can start to walk through and do this. Yes, this is all individual, Marge. I'm just using my M365 Copilot license. I'm not doing anything with Studio. This is a SharePoint agent. Okay. I can also then, if I get into a specific directory within that, I can come back here and create another agent. And so again, I'm just using this for my personal use. I want to now come in and say, summarize these files. Or I can leverage the prompt that's already there. Either way, you can do what you want. So now I'm just kind of I'm starting to interact and retrieve information that sits within this directory. So I can now start interacting. You can see I've got the footnote capability. So I'm always going to know part of our commitment to trust, our commitment to data and privacy, and all of the responsible AI practices. I'm always going to have a reference to where was that document pulled from. So this is a SharePoint agent, personal productivity. I'm leveraging my M365 Copilot license. Okay, check. Now, let's say I'm now I want to create what's called a BizChat agent. So still in my M365 Copilot, and I know there was a lot of questions around how do I get at it and stuff. I had somebody tell me the best way to do it is office.com/chat. And now I'm in my Copilot. If I come to my work, toggle. So still my M365 Copilot license, but now over here on the right-hand side, I have this option to create an agent. So what you're going to find is now I'm creating an agent. Well, lo and behold, I've got Copilot Studio. So this agent experience that I'm building is on top of Copilot Studio. So now I have that capability. I can now start to engage and interact with it, leveraging AI in a describe it to design it fashion. So let's say I want to build a policy bot. So I would like to build, actually, you know what? I'd like to build a Power Platform licensing guide, because everybody loves to read licensing guides. It's so much fun. So I'm now in natural language, just interacting with this agent experience. And now it's going to say, hey, this is great. How about we call it Original Power Platform Licensing Guide? Does that work? You bet it does. So now I'm creating this, and it's walking me through the steps to do this. And this describe it to design it functionality is throughout Power Platform. So if I want to build a Power App, I have the ability to leverage describe it to design it. I can type out, I'd like to build a registration app. We're hosting an event this weekend. I want to type that in. I can now start to leverage that across the entire stack, but that describe it to design it functionality is going to walk me through. So now let's read. What should be emphasized or avoided? Be sure to talk about Power Platform licenses only. So I can now start to give some direction. I can start to leverage my ability to prompt. How am I going to engage? How do you want to talk to the agent? Should it be formal, casual? Let's keep it casual. So I am now keeping and engaging with the Copilot, and it's building out what I want to. I've got sample prompts over here. So now it's telling me any other end. No, I'm good. So I'm now building this agent. I'm doing this. It's building it for me. So now I can come over here and I can start asking questions about it. So if I now come to this configure option, you can see all it did was just walk me through all of that. So maybe I don't want to do the describe it to design it. I want to just do this. But I have this option here for pointing to a SharePoint site. So if I have a SharePoint directory that has my Power Platform licensing guide, I could point it out to that site, and now I can pull that information in. So a little bit of a different builder experience. I'm still building this. Now, Marge, to your question of personal productivity, if I have an M365 Copilot license and I share this agent, this BizChat agent, with somebody else who has an M365 Copilot license, they can leverage that. So now we're starting to get into a little bit of this kind of veering off. Can I share it? What do I share? What does it look like? So I can get into those pieces here. Now, what you're also seeing, because it's built on Copilot Studio, I've now got actions, I've got capabilities, and you're starting to see go to Copilot Studio. So Copilot Studio with just limited functionality, then I can start to do that. I can get into these prompts that I have. I can add some, I can delete some, I can edit. This is all suggestive. The whole intent behind describe it to design it is how much further down the path can I get you using generative AI in Copilot to help you perform a task that you would be starting from scratch every time. So if this is 60%, 80%, what have you, I can do that. So now I can come and create this agent. Of course, I didn't give it a data source, so I'm just creating it. It's out here for me. So it's going to create this agent. You're seeing it happen in real time. So I've now got this agent. I can now start interacting with this agent. I can go to it. So you saw it said in there, I was only sharing it with myself. The other thing I can start to do is I can now start to, you know how within Copilot, I can at people, I can reference files. Now I can reference an agent. So if, for example, I'm chatting with somebody and I want to leverage, or I have a question, I want to call an agent to say, Power Platform Licensing Guide, I've got a question, can you answer this? So now I can start to call out and do things. So you can see, here's my policy, my Power Platform Licensing Guide, my policy guide. This is one that's been shared with me. So now I've got this Copilot agent experience that I've built. It's started to build. It's walking through all natural language around how I'm interacting with it. So SharePoint agent, right? Pretty limited. It really just lives within my M365, my SharePoint directory. All I'm doing is this document retrieval. I'm pointing it at, I'm pulling information. That's kind of the extent of it. BizChat agent, which is what I'm doing here, gives me that ability to maybe add an additional SharePoint directory. I also can add a capability to ground it in the web. So if there's some additional web, but that's about it. Those are kind of the two capabilities. Now, to switch over to Copilot Studio, because now we're saying, okay, Craig, let's say I've now want to do some things. So this is where we start to veer into, now I want to start to extend. And one of the conversations we have with almost all of our customers is around, how do we make this AI equitable? How do we get it in front of everybody within the organization, and how do we do that? This could be potentially one of those ways to do, because it's always going to be dependent on persona. It's going to be dependent on use case. So if I have an agent that I can do, and I did this demo for Duke Health earlier today, you can see I can now start to get the full capability of Copilot Studio. And it hasn't come yet, but my guess is what's going to happen is, as I start to build agents, I will then have the ability to edit those agents potentially with that I've created in BizChat. So as you saw, oh, this is my demo, that's why. As you saw here, where you have capability that says edit my agent, open the full version, that's coming, where I'll be able to edit this with my Copilot Studio license. I'm going to pause there and just check and see, would be separate license Copilot Studios. Yes, so the way that Copilot Studio is licensed is in message packs. So if when I ask a question, it counts as 1. If it uses generative AI to answer, it's 2 coming back for a total of 3. And okay. And that's how the kind of the math works on the Copilot Studio messages. You do have to have a $0 builder SKU for Copilot Studio, but that doesn't cost anything. So that's kind of the delineation. I don't have to have an M365 Copilot license in order to have a Copilot Studio license. So I will stop there. Any other questions before I do just a quick tour of Copilot Studio? Chris, what happens when you run out of message packs? So in the past, I think it was pretty much the standard Microsoft, we're going to send you 100 emails saying, hey, you're getting really close. It's really, really close. You're at your limit. And then it will still continue to work, but we'll email you over and over. What they announced as of December 1st is there's now a pay-as-you-go option for Copilot Studio. So I can add to my Azure subscription a pay-as-you-go component. And I think that means once you get to a point, if you go the pack route, at the end, there'll probably be some challenges when it comes to working, which is why they're offering this pay-as-you-go. Because the question that I ran into the most from customers around message packs was, how many do I buy? How many do I know that I need? This pay-as-you-go option is a way to kind of allow you to handle that. Okay. How does license for non-user regarding SharePoint? Do I have to allocate credits to it? So for SharePoint agent, so this is coming in January for 6 months. So the balance are the first half of calendar 25. We're going to have an option where if you have 50 Copilot licenses or more, you will get 10,000 messages that you could share a SharePoint agent with somebody who does not have M365 Copilot. That is new. We haven't got that far yet. We don't know all the details. We're efforting that right now, but that is coming. So that's the SharePoint agent. Otherwise, if I don't have an M365 Copilot license, I can't share that. Okay. Next question. How is land? Do you have to allocate to credits? So the way that Copilot Studio messages are licensed, they are signed at the tenant. From within the tenant, you assign them to a Power Platform environment. And then within the Power Platform environment, you assign them to a specific agent. So if I have a group that comes to me, like for example, HR, and they want to build an onboarding agent and they want to build a policy agent and things like that, I will create those. I can create that environment for HR. I can define what the data sets that HR is, who has access to build those bots, and then I can assign my onboarding agent to have 2,000 messages or whatnot, however I want to do that. Yes, thank you, Dwayne, for the default environment. Okay. I appreciate the help from the team answering those questions. To the commercials around using Copilot Studio. Yes, we can get you some links on Copilot Studio stuff. Correct, no cost, Copilot Studio, yes. Okay. Internal point sharing, and you share the agent with another in your, does the SharePoint content have to be shared with that user? Yes, so excellent question, Chelsea, thank you. So remember, anything, the infrastructure is Microsoft infrastructure, so as I have access to certain directories and rights and documents, it all gets inherited, so that leverages what we're doing. Okay. So just from the perspective of a couple things when it comes to Copilot Studio and what has changed, you'll see here I've spent a lot more time in the, I think when I first demoed, we didn't do anything with description instructions, but this gets into that new muscle we're all having to build around prompting, and how am I prompting AI to help me do things and be more productive. So what I did, and frankly, I just cheat. I use Copilot, and I say I'm building an agent. Give me a description of what I should use. So it does that for me. The orchestration capability. So when we talk about knowledge, so SharePoint agent, BizChat agent is SharePoint, grounded in SharePoint. Within Copilot Studio, I can now extend that to a public website. I can also, I can also get into additional SharePoint directories, and I can also use Dataverse, which is our Power Platform data set, which is an instance of SQL on Azure. But if I also have a different knowledge source that I want to ground this agent in, ServiceNow, Salesforce, Zendesk, I can now make that one of those connections what the knowledge is for my agent. So a lot more flexibility. I can get very prescriptive around this agent. Look here and only here as the knowledge source that I want you to use. Topics, I think I've talked about topics in the past. I can create a specific conversation path. So based on what my user is engaging, I can lead them down. So if there's a specific process I want them to follow or something I want to do, I can get very prescriptive in that case. Actions is where Workday knowledge source is there. Yeah. So the Workday knowledge source, it is a connector available in Power Platform. So I will have to check on that, Walter. But if you look here in my actions, so one of the things I can do, so if I'm grounding it on a specific knowledge source, and then I want to have an action happen from that, so I want to update information. These are all the available connectors that are available with Power Platform that I can leverage, so I can call on that within the same experience. The intent here is this orchestration engine is all happening behind the scenes, and my user doesn't really know. My user is just coming looking for information. The system is irrelevant. The back-end process, they don't really care. I want to keep them engaged and get those answers. So this is one of the available, I think we're up to over 1,400 connectors that are available now. And if there's not one available and you have access to APIs, you can build your own custom connector. So that is an action that I can trigger. So based on how my user is engaging with the agent, and I now want to trigger something else, I can do that. We've added this activity around what has happened with this agent, how has the user been engaging with it. I get some visibility. Here's where I have full analytics, and you can see I started playing with it. I've done a couple demos, so now you can start to see what kind of engagement I'm getting. What are the details of that? This is a table stored in Dataverse. I can download that table. I think we can get up to 30 days. Yeah, I can get up to the last 30 days. I can download that information. So I can start to see what kind of questions are being asked. How effective are they? Do I need to modify my knowledge source to make sure that the answers are getting returned that are better? I can also use that to create topics. So at the beginning of the month, I'm seeing an influx of questions about X. Maybe I want to create a topic that addresses that more proactively. And then the last piece here is the channels. You can see I can publish this in Teams. That can be a channel. And again, built on the infrastructure, inherits all of my security rights and inherits all of my permissions. So if I'm part of a team that an agent gets shared to, I would have access to that versus somebody doesn't have access, they wouldn't see that coming. So several options around how they can do that. I'm working on a pilot with Florida State. We did a pilot for 10 different faculty members across 4 colleges in class from freshman to graduate data science, where they built a bot or an agent to assist with their class. So they loaded syllabus, course information, they uploaded the transcript every week from the lecture and made that available for students to interact with. Even do things like give me 10 quiz questions based on the content covered last week. So just another option for the students to engage with. However, we struggled a little bit initially on, well, how is the student going to consume this? They are somewhat using Teams. They also use a competitive product that rhymes with Broom. And so we were trying to figure out where is the student going to leverage and what's the best way. What we ended up doing was creating a class page in Canvas on that class site and using this code to embed the agent experience in there. So just a different way to extend and make that information available. Students are always going to go there. So different options in terms of where I want this bot to live. And then lastly, this piece here is our customer engagement hub, which is I've given you some instruction. I've told you how to engage. It's just not working. I want to escalate, either talk to somebody or create a ticket. Would love to obviously talk about customer service with Dynamics 365, but we have other platforms that I can now start to extend and create that ticket. So, realize that's fast. I know it's a lot of information. It takes a few times even for us to understand it. So I did want to kind of do that. I do want to just kind of stop there, see if there's any additional questions. But if we keep in mind, you know, kind of the perspective of how do I kind of start to wrap my head around these pieces, is really, it gets into M365 Copilot. Start that with my personal productivity. As I want to extend knowledge sources and different things like that, that's where I get into Copilot Studio. And then as I want to extend even beyond that, I can do that to with Azure OpenAI. A customer can interact with the agent. Yes, what kind of customer would be interacting? It definitely, Marge, takes multiple times, and I've done probably 75 demos, and it's still, I'm learning stuff every day. Oh yeah, so good question, and I apologize. Let me share again. So in this case, this is the designer view. So this is why I'm seeing here, and part of that is, so if I ask a question around, if I ask a question which is, help me find a doctor. So what this designer view is doing is it's going to walk me through the process that says, okay, I asked a question, it went out to the site, and here's the answers it found. So this is the output. So that's what it did. And again, here's my reference to where to find it. So if I click on this link, it's going to show me that. So that's that designer view where I can kind of map to see my process of how it's going. The other thing is, so if I want to see what a customer, so let's say this is my same experience. I've just published it in Teams. So help me find a doctor. And of course, I fat-fingered the doctor, but generative AI is my friend. It knows what I'm trying to do. So it's going to come back and answer. So here you go, different and different response. But this is the experience I can have. The other thing you could do, I think it's Tyler who asked that question. I could just do a demo website, and I could create this. I could create this where I could give that experience. So it really just depends on where you want that agent to live. Is the description as important as the instructions? I don't think so. In terms of what's important, I think both of them are critical to help kind of steer. But as we're learning, this whole prompt and engaging with AI is new. So I think you kind of learn over time. That's what I found is I end up asking something and then thinking, you know what, that could be better. And I know my good friend Dwayne and my good friend Darren talk all the time about how to be a better prompter and what does that look like. So yeah, I would say they both have a hand. We're not sure yet.
I was going to say, Craig, you have pulled some big names into this meeting today. Darren's here. Christine is here. Like, we're getting the little crew back together a little bit. These CSMs are showing up.
That's right.
It's always good to have you on. Craig is definitely kind of a big deal, like a big deal. I maybe already messaged his boss to say how amazing and such a big deal he is today.
So I know that's a lot. That was 30-ish minutes. It's a lot. It comes at you, Marge. I appreciate your feedback. It is 100%. We are painting the plane while we fly it because these announcements are coming out. That agent, Copilot M365 agent, that was announced at Ignite between Darren and Carlos and myself. We're whiteboarding. What does that mean? How do we figure that out? We're learning as well. Love the questions. Happy to talk through. What does this mean? How do we do it? Whatever we can do to help, we're happy to do it.
Awesome. Well, without any more questions, we're going to wrap for the day. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. And we are off next week. This was our final edition for 2024. So big thanks to Craig for closing us out. And we will see you all in the new year. Everyone, have a safe and happy holidays, and we'll see you in 2025.
Thank you.